Hey, I'm Stephan Kesting from grapplearts.com, and today, how to make the transition from gi to no gi. Now, I recently did a video on how to make the transition the other way, from no gi to gi. So I think it's only fair to help the people who are trying to either make the complete transition from the gi to no gi, or at least become conversant in both worlds, which is what I think you should do. I think as a grappler, to be a complete grappler, you should do at least a bit of both. If it's 80% gi, you should be doing 20% no gi. If you're doing 80% no gi, you should be doing 20% gi. Regardless, this is about people who are gi dominant now making the transition to no gi. And I think there are 5 things that are really going to help you. Number 1, you gotta accept, you gotta come to terms with the idea that no gi is a faster and more transitional environment. You just have to pick up the pace a little bit. Yes, that means that your endurance is gonna have to be better. Yes, that means that your willingness to scramble has to be higher. You have to accept that it's not a set piece battle where you're gonna go from here to there and control the guy at every single step of the way. Let's take pressure passing. Classically, pressure passing with the gi, you get your position, you lock it in, you hold that position, you drive, you kill the legs, you pin the hips, you spike the guy with your shoulder, and you wait. You hold that position. It's a little bit harder in no gi. You can still pressure pass, but you have to be willing to adjust more. You have to be more willing to live in transition. You start with pressure pass number 1. The guy adjusts. You go to pressure pass number 2, or you start in pressure pass number 1. You start with the over-under. The guy begins to move. You back out and you go to a more mobility-based pass until the guy screws up. Then you go to pressure pass number 2. You maybe go to the folding pass. You got to be willing to switch between modalities. Once you accept that it's a faster game and that there are more transitions in it, and the transitions are part of the game, of course they're part of the gi game as well, but they're more central, they're more integral to the no gi game, you'll be well on your way to becoming a no gi expert as well as a gi expert. Number 2, you got to get used to the new and limited number of grips that are available to you in no gi. You don't have as many gripping options in no gi as you do in the gi, obviously. You don't have the sleeve grips, you don't have the collar grips, you don't have the knee grips, but there are still grips that you can use. You can grab the wrist, you can collar tie the neck, you can use a 2-on-1 grip, you can use a Kimura type grip. You end up using a smaller number of grips for a greater number of purposes. You might use the Kimura grip to pass guard. Of course you can use the Kimura grip to pass guard in the gi, but you got so many other gripping options that you might use one of those other gripping options. In no gi, you have less gripping options, so you're going to be going to the ones that you do have more often. Also, referring back to point 1, they're going to be more transitional. It's going to be less likely, unless your grip strength is just massively crazy strong, that you're going to get a wrist grip and hold it. You're going to have to get that wrist grip, anticipate the grip strip he's going to do, move on to your next grip, anticipate what he's going to do, move on to the other grip, anticipate what he's going to do, and then attack. It's more transitional. There are going to be more switches in grips, and you're not going to have the grips for as long, but you still need to know what they are. Number 3, throw out your guards. There are lots of guards in the gi that stop working or have to be heavily modified to become effective in no gi. Classic example here, probably the single best one, is spider guard. Feet on the biceps, grabbing the sleeves, or wrapping your leg into the lasso, just doesn't exist. Yes, if you spent an entire career doing that in the gi, it's going to help you because you're going to have increased leg dexterity. You're going to have a level of leg dexterity that other people won't have. That's not a bad thing. But the actual form, the expression of that guard, probably not going to work. This is why guards like butterfly guard, single leg X guard, and half guard are so popular in no gi. There are variations there as well. Half butterfly would be an example of a hybrid between the butterfly and the half guard. Those are probably primary. Now there are ways to adapt some of the gi-based positions. Think of the De La Riva guard. Typically De La Riva guard can be holding the ankle, grabbing the sleeve, grabbing the lapel, grabbing the belt. People have, like Rob Bernacki with his no gi De La Riva formula, have adapted that position to work in no gi. And it's a huge advantage if you know how to adapt them because people aren't used to it. But generally speaking, many of the guards that you're used to stop working. I'm going to say that the way most people do closed guard in the gi doesn't work. The temptation, if you're in close guard, is so strong to just get that cross lapel grip and pull down. The lapel and sleeve grip is fantastic. It's the basis of the close guard, the way many people teach the close guard. Throw that out. It's not going to work in No Gi. Yeah, close guard can work, so you start climbing your legs, you go to a high guard, you start working off the overhook, you start working off the underhook, but it's going to require heavy modification of the grips. See point number 2. Tip number 4 for making the switch from gi to no gi. The primacy of the back. Yes, the back is a great position in the gi. 100%. Not disagreeing. Lots of people get finished from the back. But in gi, lots of people also get finished from side control. Lots of people also get finished from mount. As you make the switch to no gi, because there's so few controls, the back becomes even more important. It becomes somewhat easier to sneak that arm in for the rear naked choke. It's hard to rear naked choke somebody in the gi. Not impossible, but it's hard. It's pretty easy to choke somebody with the rear naked in no gi because there isn't all that lapel material to get bunched up and prevent the passage of the hand. Also, think of it this way. If you have me in side control in the gi, reasonably easy to pin me there and have me not move. In no gi, it's reasonably easy for me to roll. Now, maybe you take my back, maybe you move to a different position, maybe I end up in a worse position, but I can move. If you have my back, if you have your hooks in, you have the seatbelt established, the under over, if I roll, you go with me. So the back becomes even more important in no gi than in the gi, and I think there's a reason that you see so many finishes from the back in no gi competition. Number 5, submissions. Submissions are gonna change from gi to no gi. Obviously, you don't have any of the lapel-based chokes, and even some of the arm locks are harder to do because it's just so much more slippery. It's just so much easier for the guy to turn. So that's why things like leg locks, guillotines, arm-in guillotines, and darce chokes start becoming more popular. It's almost like in no gi, you get more attacks from the neck up and from the legs, from the waist down on the legs. Certainly, the rules in most gi-based grappling dissuade people from going for the legs. There's rules saying you can't go for this leg lock below blue belt, you can't go for this leg lock below brown belt, you can't do these leg locks at all, heel hooks, you can't reap, because if you reap, somehow the knee will magically explode. It won't. In many no-gi competitions, not all of them, but many no-gi competitions, it's much more open field. So if you're making the switch from gi to no-gi, you better start learning what an outside ashi is. You better start learning what a standard ashi is. You better start learning what a 411 is. I'll put a link here somewhere. I'll take you to a PDF I wrote about the different leg lock positions. It's free. You don't need to opt in. Grab it and at least become familiar with the basic leg locking positions. It's incredibly important. Another thing that seems to happen more in no gi is people attack the neck. So, you don't have as many chokes, but you end up with a guillotine type submission. You end up with darce chokes. You end up with arm-in guillotines. People really focus on the neck because in the scramble, often if we're scrambling and I'm trying to escape, it's easier to jump on my neck in that transition. It's hard, it's not impossible. It's hard to finish a guillotine in the gi, or it's harder. People do it, but it's a lot easier to finish the guillotine in no gi. It's a lot easier to get your hands into position. So work on your leg locks, work on your guillotines. Just to summarize, 5 things. Accept that it's a faster, more transitional world. That's just the way it's going to be. The sooner you get used to that, the better. Number 2, throw out your grips. Throw out the grips that you were relying on. Learn the no-gi grips. It's really useful. It'll help you with your gi stuff as well. Number 3, throw out your guards. Throw out the guards that are dependent on gripping. Throw out the guards that absolutely require you to have sleeve grips, cross lapel grips. They're just not going to work. Number 4, learn the primacy of the back. Learn how to take the back from a whole bunch of different positions. Learn how to maintain the back against a whole bunch of different reactions and escape attempts. Learn how to submit from there. And while we're on the topic of submissions, number 5, learn leg locks, learn your guillotine chokes. All right, 2 resources for you. One's free, one's not. The free one is check out the PDF on the leg lock positions that I put out. It's free, no opt-in required. I'll put the link here somewhere. Number 2, you want to get better at the back control, including strong side and weak side attacks. check out the back control formula. It's part of the BJJ formula. It's available in app form and is also available at DVD and online streaming. I'll put the link there as well. That's a really good resource that'll apply gi and no gi. All right, good luck making the transition from gi to no gi. I salute you, and I double salute you if you kind of keep a foot in both worlds. If you spend 10% of your time, 20% of your time doing gi when you're making the transition to no gi, or if you're doing no gi, you do a little bit of gi, then you're really on the right path and it'll help both worlds. Take care. See you on the mats another day.